You know what goes on longer than a Hindi TV serial is the Australian batting lineup. It just is never ending, but India has restricted them to 276. Welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher and I have got Zach and DK with me. For a lineup that just never ends, India has managed to pull them back. We've bowled very well. Zach, Shami, the star of our innings today.
Well, we always get excited when he gets wickets.
Yes.
And he's very consistent with his wicket-taking form. So that is something which we've been harping on. When we're looking at it from outside, we always feel that the pace trio has to be Shami, Siraj and Bumrah. And that's when you're going to have the maximum impact with the seamers. But, so far the team has not been looking at it that way. We hope that, these kind of performances actually gives them that freedom to go for the flexible side of things and maybe use it tactically as and when required, when you want to be more aggressive or you think that, okay, against a strong batting lineup, you will need more bowling resources or more potent bowling lineup, then this is definitely going to be the case. If you have Shami in the lineup, 60 deliveries of Shami as opposed to 60 deliveries of Shardul. I think anyone will agree with this, that the 60 deliveries of Shami will give you that chance of maybe being a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
Now, how you going to use the bowlers is something which may be the debate. Like you will say, okay, Siraj will bowl with the new ball, Shami will also bowl with the new ball. Then how are you going to rotate all those overs and those kind of finer things. But you can find a way. You can have 4 overs each of Shami and Siraj. To create that kind of impact. But I think that's the direction Indian team should go in. Because Shami is just a class bowler, and every time he's on song, when there is a little bit of help on offer, he can produce spells like this.
DK, I get just so excited watching him. I asked Zach in our com box as well. His seam position, we can have Zach do a masterclass on his seam position. But Shami is someone who doesn't, rely on too many variations. He's somebody who likes to focus on accuracy and play around with the seam movement that he gets. As a batter, because I've already asked Zach this in the com box, when you're playing someone like a Shami, what's in your mind? Because he's not someone who has too many variations.
With the new ball, look, the one big skill he has, apart from having a superb upright seam, is the fact that he can move it in and out at will. And that's why he's been so successful in Test cricket. He's a nasty bowler to face in the nets as well. The limited time that I've spent, he is probably the toughest bowler I've faced in the net because he's short, his bouncer comes at a very awkward height. But let's take things on the field, and why he is so skillful is the second wicket, Steven Smith's wicket. Yes, there were other bowlers as well. Jasprit Bumrah, Shardul Thakur were on display today. But the prodigious seam movement that he got to dismiss Steven Smith in the middle of the innings when he was actually going good is what presents a case to Indian team and say, look, if there is a good partnership, is he the guy who's going to break the partnership with his skill, pure skill? That is a great ball. What he did to Mitchell Marsh, have to say that's brilliant. But that is one of Shami's skills that probably somebody else can do to a point. Just swing it outside, from the stump, which is a skill in itself. But to get a 10 over, 12 over at that stage on the 25th, 28th over mark, at that stage to get the ball seaming back in requires phenomenal skill. And that is the special part about Shami. Even if you see how he's bowled in Test cricket, his ability to strike at innocuous points in the game when you least expect it from a fast bowler is what makes him so special.
I can go on and on. Like I said, I'd like to have a masterclass from Zach on his seam position and just how beautiful he is to watch. But we'll have a look at the summary and see what's happened. 276 is what Australia have managed. David Warner got a 52 and Josh Inglis got 45. Of course, Shami 5 for 51, Bumrah 1 for 43 and Ash with 1 for 47. A little bit on Ash, Zach, because I again asked you about, he came in a little differently, his run-up was a little different, he was trying something new. 1 for 47, will he be happy? Would he have liked to get more wickets, or do you think the runs he's given are quite all right?
Well, I think that's what you expect from Ash, isn't it? Like, as we were talking about it before the match also, like, what kind of skill set you're going to get out of him. He will be finding a way. It doesn't matter what kind of pitch he is playing on. If the pitch is flat, he will find a way of restricting the opposition on that. So that battle he is always up for it, and that's what I've seen from him today as well. He was a bit more positive, I would say, today. That one six of him when Steve Smith hit him for that six. After that, he was brave enough to toss the ball up. He was good with understanding the situation, understanding the need of the hour, and say that okay, fine, at this stage you need that wicket. So even if he's gotten hit for a six, he was brave enough to back himself to bowl that flighted delivery up. So that's something which you'll always expect. He'll be happy with the performance right now. There was little bit of help on offer, but on the whole, I think Indian bowlers have managed to restrict Australia to a decent total, because this batting lineup of Australia bats very deep. So you have to put that also into context. You can't just say that, okay, on this kind of soft, there was reverse swing on offer and still they've managed to score 275. I think with the kind of batting order they have, we still managed to help them. And very small little things here, there, maybe towards the end, back 10 overs could have been better. That's something, that one area is always there right now with this Indian team to improve, because they rely heavily on Bumrah in that department. But Shami will be happy to see that he's picked up wickets in that phase. Other than that, I think when it comes to spin bowling, there was not a lot of help on offer. And with this second power play, it's not easy for any bowler to just come in and create that kind of an impact. So with that, I think Ashwin should be happy with that middle phase of the over and taking that one wicket.
Like Zach was saying, DK, he showed positive intent, which we spoke about in our pre-match show also. Is clearly there was a plan which has been spoken with the management, and he looked like he wanted to get more wickets. He wasn't so much on the defensive. He was looking way more attacking today.
Ashwin's bowling was a tale of two halves. First spell, which he bowled for 6 overs, that he bowled from the Harbhajan Singh end. If you see at the start, he troubled Warner a little bit in terms of not giving runs. He didn't probably create magical deliveries to get him out, but he kept him tight. But when things got going, when they started going after him, he brought his defensive game to the fore at that point and finished that spell with 6 overs for 37. But what was beautiful in the second spell, when he came back from the Yuvraj Singh, and he bowled 4 overs for just the 10 runs. Now that is his skill. If you give him new batters, if you give him at the start of a spell, he's always going to be good. The only ones who will go after him is when batters are set, because he's a finger spinner and they know which way it's turning, they will go after him. Now that is the tricky part for a bowler like him. But when you give him to 2 new batters, he will eat them up alive, and there is no doubt about it. And you saw the distinct difference between Ashwin and Jadeja today. Jadeja was primarily bowling to right-handers with the ball going away naturally, and still managed to bowl at 50. I bowled 10 overs for his 51 runs. But Ashwin, on the other hand, has bowled 10 overs for 47. So you can see, in terms of sheer quality and the skill sets that he possesses, nobody can doubt what he has. It's about whether you want the skill set, and if you want it, how are you going to use it? And I thought he did a good job. You have to understand that he's playing a game after a year and a half almost. So he did a really good job with the spell that he did. And obviously, India will be looking at him and thinking, is there a way for him to bring us into the team? Which is, again, a question that's there, always going to be there till they announce the full squad just before the World Cup.
We spoke about Australia's batting lineup, which just doesn't end. So they had a lot of people who gave them starts. So be it a David Warner, be it Steve Smith, or be it Labuschagne. No one could really convert it into a big one. I feel that's where Australia were lacking today. But Zach, you feel, David Warner showed that intent but couldn't make it into a big one.
Well, I think that's one thing which they'll have to debate hard and figure out, what kind of approach they should have in these kind of conditions. When you have such a deep batting lineup, you also always tempted to be over aggressive. So on these days, when the ball is not coming onto the bat, even after you are set as a top order, I think one batter needs to carry the innings. So that's something which communication, the discussion around that needs to happen because it's so tempting always when you see, okay, Pat Cummins coming at number 10, that even if you are set, you are thinking that you are always behind the 8 ball. You're thinking you have to keep up that tempo or maybe push it further up. And that is something is a catch-22 situation. On a good track, on a good batting-friendly track, flat pitch, you will be able to achieve a lot more with that kind of approach, because there the need of the hour is to just keep on pushing, put bowlers under pressure, which are always going to be on the defensive side of things. But here, when there is a little bit of help on offer as a bowler, you're always thinking that you can get one can bring 2 wickets. And that's where the batsman is in the mindset that, okay, I have to keep on pushing that that score rate or keep up with the tempo or keep pushing the tempo harder, then the chances of bowler getting wicket goes higher. And that's something which we saw today with the dismissal of Steve Smith. It was a forced shot. He wasn't respecting what Shami is throwing at him. It was just more about, I have to keep up with the game, I have to keep the tempo going up, and that resulted in wickets. So I think a set batter especially, on these kind of pitches, when you think of once I'm set, I'm going to look to carry the innings, and then around a particular player, the other guys can be aggressive. I think that's one little bit of fine adjustment. If they do, they will be able to, instead of scoring 275 on this kind of pitch, which is a good total, you might go to 310, and those 30-40 runs will make a huge difference when you're defending the total on this kind of surface.
But just adding to what Zach is saying, DK, isn't it like a team communication thing? Like if there is a Steven Smith who, there's been a lot of debate around whether you need an anchor in T20 cricket or not. In ODI cricket, you most certainly need someone who anchors the innings, like you were saying. So with Steve Smith and Labuschagne, they both are similar with their batting style. So who takes that role? Isn't that a management call?
With the way things are progressing in the Australian team, I think Steven Smith is the anchor because A, he's sure shot to be in the 11, and you can also see Marnus Labuschagne in the last couple of series that he's played, he's actually upped his tempo a bit than what a Steven Smith is doing. If you do see the South African series, the T20 and the ODI series, he's constantly played at a slightly higher run rate. I think the message that's gone out to him is it's hard to have both of you all in that middle order, so one of you all probably need to take it down a little more than the other, and Marnus Labuschagne, obviously the younger one. Steven Smith on the other hand is sure shot in the side and he's going to start in 11. Marnus Labuschagne has taken upon himself to do that role, and even today he played at a fair clip, whereas Steven Smith has taken 60 balls to get his 41. On the other hand, Marnus Labuschagne got his 38 in much fewer balls. So you can see the message is very clear as to who should be the one who should be taking on the bowlers. And I completely agree with Zach. Sometimes when you have a long batting order, you fail to bat to your potential, and that happens because you always believe there are more batsmen, so you need to be taking on a lot more pressure in terms of scoring runs at a certain tempo than what you need to be doing. And it's very evident with their partnership as well. Yes, they had that 194-run partnership and 162-run partnership. In between all of that, there were many partnerships which failed to blossom into something bigger, and that is the reason why they ended up with 276. With India picking so many wickets, if you do look at how their scoring progression went, in the last 10 overs, they've got 90 runs for 5 wickets, which is a very, very decent score to get. But it was between overs 31 to 40 that they've struggled a lot. So where they've lost wickets, they don't know how to build it. And it's very evident, if you see between 21 to 40, they've just got the 80 runs, which is not the tempo at which you play generally, considering you've ended up at 276, which tells me that if at that stage 2 set batters were there, instead of them losing 3 wickets, if they just lost the 1, they would have probably got 100 runs, and that would have ended up getting them closer to 300. And that is the mistake that Australia probably made, and that is probably going to cost them this game as well.
276 they've managed, but we have to give a little credit to the not so good fielding that India has done as well, because we haven't been the best on field today. A few drop catches and then a few run out chances that we missed. Do you think it's the weather conditions? Do you think it's just not playing too much ODI cricket where they're getting used to it?
No, I think it was a mixed day with the field, because there was some brilliance of Surya also in that backing up, getting that run out at that stage. I think catching has been a little below par. It was in Asia Cup also. It was very evident against Nepal, against Bangladesh. We've dropped few catches. So that one area that the Indian team should look at for sure. Maybe spend some extra time just before the World Cup, getting those many number of catches in practices to keep on top of things. But other than that, it's fine. Catches do get dropped. But when it happens consistently, then it needs to be addressed. I think that's the case with regard to the fielding. Other than that, I think it was fine. It was a decent. It is a decent total, and if you look at the progression of the innings, you know that the first 20 overs are going to be very crucial when Indian team goes on to bat. Yeah. They need to be more aggressive with those first 20 overs so that the back 10 becomes that much easier. In the middle phase, the game is going to slow down. The wicket has looked like that. It's looked on the drier side. The ball is not coming onto the bat. So till the time ball is hard, and you have the 2 new balls from each end. So that's what 10 overs each. With each ball is something which you should look to target. If you're setting that kind of a target with your chase, I think it's going to be a comfortable one.
You know, the World Cup is on everyone's mind because that's all we are speaking about. Yes, there's a match on hand, but all we're talking about is the World Cup. So we're going to take a little detour and look at Pakistan's announcement because they've announced their World Cup squad. Of course, the injury which has forced a new player in, Naseem Shah, has been ruled out. But any other surprises at all? Hassan Ali comes in for him.
Hassan Ali is the only surprise.
Yes.
And I only say that because they backed Zaman Khan and he did a pretty decent job with the ball for them, almost won them the game against Bangladesh. Now, when they, rather Sri Lanka, sorry, when they did pick this squad, I can understand what Babar Azam is thinking. When pushed to the corner, especially after the result that happened in Asia Cup with them finishing last, I think he's gone to the tried and tested method where he knows what he can get from a Hassan Ali. He has a Shaheen Afridi, he has a Haris Rauf, and he has a young guy in Mohammad Wasim Jr. So he's decided to go in with Hassan Ali, who played a little bit of Test cricket in the recent past, had a poor run of form there, didn't really do very well in ODIs, was dropped after the New Zealand tour of Pakistan. So he's been dropped then and he's been brought into the team, which tells me that he's rather pushing himself towards the experienced side than go towards the young guy. If you do notice that squad, an interesting name which has been doing the rounds but is part of the results, Abrar Ahmed. Now, he's done really well in Test cricket and done decently well in PSL. And in the middle overs, they haven't picked many wickets. He could be the answer to that. They have gone for Usama Mir, who's been part of the squad, but they've had Abrar Ahmed as part of the team. He would have been a very interesting left field choice in many ways. But the fact that they've stuck to the tried and tested ones is good. A person would have had a few scary days would have been to an extent Fakhar Zaman, because Abdullah Shafiq has come in the one game, has done well. On the other hand, they have Mohammad Haris, who is obviously very backed by the captain again, who did well in the T20 World Cup. So look, taking things into consideration, I think Pakistan have gone for the tried and tested, the more experienced players, and they're hoping that this experience is going to bring them glory in this World Cup. And rightfully so, I think they've stuck to a squad which they believe in.
You know, Zach, after what happened in the Asia Cup, the media, there's always so much drama that happens before a World Cup. So the Pakistani media, there's a lot of flutter between them. But do you think this is a squad which, like DK was saying, to back experience makes sense, especially what they're coming out of right now?
Well, I think their strength has been bowling. You know, that's how I'm seeing that squad. So looking at that, you know, the Naseem Shah missing it out is going to be a big blow for the Pakistan team for sure, because that bowling lineup was looking settled. The role was clearly defined. So I think that one area we'll have to see how they approach, and that's possibly the reason they've gone ahead with Hassan Ali. You know, they felt that, okay, some experienced bowler coming and doing that role is just going to stabilize things right now rather than creating that uncertainty. So I think that's the approach they've taken. With this team, the batting is always going to be Babar Azam taking that responsibility, and any day this team scores runs, they will possess that threat to any team because of their bowling lineup and the approach which they've been having. After a long time, they've kind of looking like a settled unit with regard to bowling, and their success over the years also. Pakistan team is known for that. So they are just kind of going back to that old template of their winning matches, wherein their bowlers are the stars and the batters basically just doing enough to get the team and providing that platform. And from that point of view, I think Babar Azam is going to be.
It's very interesting, Zach says this, because last year when we played the T20 World Cup, that was the only team which could get away after scoring 150, 160 runs. Most of the other team needed to score 10, 15 above par. But this Pakistan team, because of the kind of bowling resources they have, and exactly the three names that Zach just said, Shaheen, Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf, they are so venomous and lethal, and they are really hard for batters to score against. And Pakistan was the only team which was able to defend targets, and much lower targets than other teams could, and purely, you know, based on the skill that they have in their bowling.
I mean, that's what Inzamam Ulaqs also said, that they wanted experience in the bowling to kind of get someone to bowl up with the new ball and also in the death overs. So clearly they're going by experience and wanting their bowling to kind of, take center stage for Pakistan, like you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, if at all there is any gap there, is the form of Shadab Khan. You know, so that is something which they'll have to see. But he's been under pressure with the ODI format. But their part-timers are good, you know, so you have batters who can bowl, especially with Iftikhar Ahmed. You know, he's always very good with the off-spin and the ball going away from the right-hander. So that has to come to the party. That spin department, if it gets lifted little bit, then this attack will be even more lethal.
And he has to, Shadab Khan, because he's the vice captain of the team. A lot of people think actually Mohammad Rizwan is the vice captain. That's in T20. Here he's the vice captain and he has a massive role to play. If he gets his bowling going, Pakistan will be a different team altogether. If he doesn't, on the other hand, it will be a different team which will really struggle for sure.
Yeah, all right, because we still have some time for the World Cup, but I thought we should do this detour because the squad was announced. But coming back to today's game, we'll have a look at India's playing 11 again. Ruturaj Gaikwad gets a game in, so he's somebody who doesn't have anything to lose. He's going to be playing without any World Cup pressure, without any pressure at all, and he's someone I love watching. So Gill and him together, can we expect them to be a little more attacking, like you were saying?
I think they'll have to be. When you're looking at the kind of pitch on offer in today's game, there are plannings which you have as a template for the team, but you also have to play the conditions. What's on offer today. You have to see how the game is going, how the game has unfolded today. That first 20 overs are going to be crucial. So even if you are actually taking that risk of losing extra wicket in that, it's fine, but you have to take those chances. If you don't do that, then the next phase of the game is actually going to add that much more pressure on your batting lineup. So I hope that is the plan from the Indian batting lineup, and Shubman Gill and Ruturaj are more than capable of doing that. It's just about having a talk around it and then going in with that kind of a plan and then try to execute it. In the process, if you lose wicket, that's absolutely fine. But first 20 overs, I think Indian batters need to be more positive, more aggressive than their usual selves.
DK, there's this one pressure where Ruturaj Gaikwad doesn't have the pressure of the World Cup, but I think even within a team, it's all a team game. But with Shreyas Iyer coming back in, everyone knows that they're eyeing for that same slot. Rahul and Shreyas, he comes back after the injury. He looked really good against Pakistan until he got out to that pull shot. But what is the pressure that Shreyas is probably going through? Because he knows that playing 11, if he performs well in these 3 games, he'll probably get a go-ahead.
The one thing that players hate is knowing that you might not start going into a tournament. Nobody likes that feeling. It's a very hard one. Unfortunately, right now, Shreyas is pushed to that place. So he has a lot to prove. He knows if he gets going, gets runs, there's a great chance he could start. So there is, if at all there is somebody in that batting lineup who is under pressure or who wants to perform, let's put, everybody wants to perform as well, but more so than others, then it is Shreyas Iyer. And here is an opportunity for him at 3, but his nemesis have been Australia. If you do look at how his career has panned out, he's had the toughest record against Australia so far. He just averages around 22 in the matches that he's played. He has a great record against New Zealand, he has a great record against South Africa, but against Australia, for some strange reason, he hasn't got going. So this is a lineup which knows what it is to get Shreyas Iyer out. So he'll be aware of that as well. And I'm very sure when he comes in, there'll be a few short ball barrages which he has to get out of before he goes on to score. So for him, these are 3 critical matches. And if he can get some runs, then that will put him in a great place to start the tournament. Otherwise, he would know at the back of his mind that there's a good chance that he might not start.
But Zach, with Shreyas, he's somebody who plays spin so beautifully, and especially in Indian conditions, we know that between the 20th to the 40th over, Shreyas is someone who's very solid with spin. So if he gets past the short balls that will be peppered to him, we know that he's someone who will handle those middle overs very well.
Yes, he's been very consistent. Yes. The weakness around short balls have been very open. It's not a closed guarded secret. Everyone knows that. But he has somehow found a way, and Australia is someone who will definitely plan that way. And that first phase, first 15-20 deliveries, you got to be prepared. And when you have numbers like this, what you've shown just now, as a batter, I'm sure he's aware of that. And once he passes that phase and the spinners are bowling, it will be easier for him and for his own confidence as well. The thing is, he's not been playing that much, so that one thing will always linger right now back of his head. No matter how much practice you do, the game time is a game time. That match time in the middle, scoring those 30, 40, 60 runs is something which is going to only help him right now in this scenario. And whatever things are happening around it, as a batter, you got to be able to shut it out. If you are able to shut it out, just go in there, let the game take over, and you go with the flow of the game. Things take care of itself. So I think Shreyas, he has to approach it in that manner. And once he scores those 50, 60 runs, then he's just going to feel at ease, and rest of the things will follow.
Just a quick question, DK, we saw Rahul struggling a little bit behind the stumps today. So as a wicket keeper bat, we know he's just coming out of injury. So will that be playing on his head as well, saying, let me take it a little easy behind the stumps, because that injury thing always plays at the back of your head?
Not at all. In fact, it'll be the other way around. Now that he is sure shot playing in the team, and the fact that they've given him the gloves, which is very interesting, he will be telling himself that he needs to make sure that he's very safe behind the stumps. And so far, luckily for him, most of the catches that he's got of fast bowlers he's able to hold on. It's just those runouts, balls that have been awkwardly pitched in front of him, and at times to spinners when it's turning, even in Sri Lanka, he's found it hard. And these are not easy. For a keeper, keeping up to spin is a challenge and an art in itself. And the best of keepers obviously have done it over a period of time, so it's much easier. For a stand-in keeper, it's always harder. I empathize with him, but it is an area that India will definitely look into, because just like today, a simple run-out chance could cost us a game. And that will definitely play at the back of his mind. He knows that there are things probably he should be working on. The only disadvantage is, when you're coming back from an injury like the one he's just had, you can't put in that amount of volume that other keepers would put when they're fully fit, because you know that takes a bearing on your body. So how he manages that will be his biggest challenge.
But again, just as a fan, when you have a Ishan Kishan in the team, and when you know Rahul's not 100% totally fit, you wouldn't want to give the gloves to Ishan Kishan.
Well, I'm looking at it as an advantage right now, rather than being confused or concerned about the situation. I think a tournament like World Cup, looking at the format, when you're going to be playing 9 matches in one and a half month, so it's going to give you that freedom as well. It's going to be dependent on how the team is looking at it. You can always let them share the workload. So that's something which is also out for discussion. And the main keeper, if you know that, okay, Ishan Kishan, once you make that decision that for World Cup, he's going to give us the tactical advantage. With the bat also, there's left-hander in the middle. He's in great form. He's been consistently scoring runs. And we feel that the first 11 choice is Ishan Kishan. Then I think in that scenario, the gloves have to go to Ishan Kishan. Other than that, I think you can look at the situation, look at, maybe 2 games, both of them are playing, then it's just going to ease off that pressure. And you, in that scenario, need to give both of them that chance of wicket keeping. If you want to keep things simple, I think the regular keeper doing the job is always going to be the easier choice.
All right, let's have a look at Australia's playing 11 once again, because yes, Pat Cummins is back, but there is no Josh Hazlewood and there is no Stark today. So going by the bowling, they've got Sean Abbott, they've got Zampa, Pat Cummins, Stoinis of course, and then we'll get Short to bowl in a little bit. They've got Cam Green. But considering today's team, not the most strong bowling attack from Australia, you think?
When I look at this 11, I somehow get a strange feeling. I don't know, I'm just shooting from the hip here, that Matthew Short wasn't supposed to be playing in the 11. I have a feeling they would have gone with Spencer Johnson, and probably there would have been a niggle, because there is no 2 frontline medium pacers. Yes. If you see Sean Abbott, he bowls a lot of one change. He comes in one change. Whereas here he's going to be bowling with a new ball with Pat Cummins unless and until Stoinis decides to bowl with a new ball. So if you look at that team, you would say Spencer Johnson should have played, because Matthew Short at 8 couldn't give you much. He's an opener. And his off spin, yes, he's a part-time off spinner, not somebody who's going to give you for sure shot 10 overs. So it's very interesting that they've gone with this 11. I wouldn't be surprised if he was supposed to play and didn't. But looking at this bowling attack, you would feel that India fancy their chances. This is probably, in terms of the average speed of an Australian attack, the least over a period of time. They don't have the bowlers that they usually do. So here is a great chance for the young Indian batters to go out there and stamp their authority and tell Rahul Dravid and Rohit that they're ready to obviously start in the World Cup, and for a few others to gain some confidence. But most importantly, to get off the mark in this series, I think there's a great attack to do it against.
So just 276, the balance shifts towards India considering the bowling lineup. They don't have their, attacking bowlers with them today.
Well, I think it's still going to be an evenly fought game, I feel. And you'll see the all-rounders from the Australian side, they will be using a lot of change-ups. So that's why the new ball phase becomes more critical. I think depending on how the phase goes, the intensity of the game will be determined in the middle phase. If you don't get those runs with the new ball when it's hard, then Australia will have a chance of creating that pressure in the middle overs. If they're able to get those wickets in the middle, maybe 2 or 3, that's going to add to the pressure, and that's the way to go about it. So for Australia, I think how they approach the first 15-20 overs is going to be very critical, and so is India's approach in the first 15-20 overs.
So, well, something that we got terribly wrong was our prediction game in the last inning. So, we've been told that we're going to do a prediction game for the first 10 overs for this innings and see if we come any closer. So, your prediction for the first 10 overs?
I think 50 is what I'm looking at then. If I'm talking about the new ball approach, then it has to be at least 50.
I would say 55.
Oh, all very tight there. I'll go a little more conservative. I'll go with 47.
Okay.
I'll go with 47. We'll wait and watch. But, you know, we had the joy factor question in the first innings. I have a little question. It's not the joy factor question. It's a question I'd like to ask you all. Is that Shami got his 5-wicket haul today, in Indian pacer who got it. Who was the last one who got it in India, a 5-wicket haul?
5-wicket haul in India?
A fast bowler or any bowler?
Fast bowler.
I know Stuart Binney got it in Bangladesh.
Zaheer Khan.
Siraj got it recently.
No, the last person who got this was Mr. Zaheer
Oh, then
Khan.
it has to go very, very long time back.
Yes.
Then that was in Goa.
It was 2007 against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that was
when you
long
got.
time back.
I played that game also.
So it's a really long time back.
I didn't think of it being so long.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So guys, I think you know, we are going to see what happens when we come back. I'm really hoping for a nice attacking knock from Ruturaj Gaikwad because I'm a big fan of him. So Shubman Gill and him together, I'm really hoping that they go all guns blazing. We'll see you at the 15 over point at the Cricbuzz Combox. That's all for now. See you soon.